streamed in almost a couple weeks, so I just need a couple minutes to get into it here. We've been on the Weezer cruise this summer. This past week, the Weezer cruise. We had 4 shows in 7 days. Well, really, it was more than that. We had a Saturday at Young Ethel's, Monday at Open Mic, Thursday at Auto Shrunken Head, Saturday at New York City Poetry Festival, and then Open Mic, the Weezer cruise docked last night at KGB Bar in the East Village. I don't know, for whatever reason, for the past week I've been obsessed with Weezer. This is something that, well, I've noticed, I don't know, just mapping sort of one's own life onto sort of fictional scenarios, famous, like the Woody Allen thing. This is something that, like with Ashley, right, it's been sort of a recurring thing where it's like we kind of, first there was the Palo Alto thing, right, the James Franco soccer coach, right, role playing, right? Then there was Adult World, Rat Billings. Then there was Woody Allen. Now there's Weezer. We're on the Weezer cruise. That's our current fantasy. But these are like parallels with the situation. This is something, it's not just, it's something that I kind of do recurringly with my own stuff, is like, you're constantly finding resonances and kind of parallels for your own life in movies and you'll see a movie, you'll be like, this is exactly like what's happening to me right now. And with Weezer, the song Back to the Shack, I feel like I'm living Back to the Shack. This, Back to the Shack is all about how he did all this. I mean, who knew Weezer was the best band of the last 30 years? Who knew Weezer had been putting out consistently great work, crowd pleasing? Their fans love everything they do. No, they're very controversial. Every new release they have that comes out is puzzles their loyal fan base, who keep waiting for like another Pinkerton or another Blue album or something. It's never going to happen. They've tried many times to recapture the magic. The Blue album and Pinkerton are just kind of like unique. I think that's one of the things that's interesting about Weezer, is like they've figured out how to be survivors and how to keep making music. A lot of bands flame out, or to be honest, that Pacific Daydream album is pretty fucking good. And it fits within the landscape of kind of contemporary radio pop music. You can tell Rivers Cuomo is listening to a lot of Max Martin, Swedish super producers, Dr. Luke. Everybody wants to write Since You've Been Gone. Probably the biggest song in the last 20 years, maybe, Since You've Been Gone. Oh, I don't know. So yeah, the Weezer cruise. I don't know. I walked away from Weezer. I didn't want to listen to Weezer. I grew up around Weezer. My friends in high school were all obsessed. But it's like that's one of the reasons why I think I'm like keying back into it, is like because it was a band that was like relevant when they were coming out with albums when we were sort of coming of age and shit, right? In the same way that like maybe people in the 60s, they came of age. The Beatle albums were coming out at the time. Weezer was our Beatles. I mean, they're interesting because they are kind of like, Rivers Cuomo is kind of like a self-contained he writes the words and the music. He plays lead guitar. It's not like there's a songwriting partnership in the band. He writes melody and words in a way that's like I would say he's kind of equally good at both. He's some kind of like savant or high IQ. You know, he went to Harvard and shit. You can tell he kind of deserved to go there. But there's also something about Weezer that like part of the reason why I'm listening is because I'm trying to assess like how deep do they go really. You know, Rivers Cuomo is sort of obsessed with writing like the perfect pop song, and he's trying to like crack the code with all his spreadsheets and his beats per minute and studying it like it's a science or something. And to be honest, he may have he may have figured it out. I mean, I've got a playlist. There's bangers on practically every Weezer album. The only one I don't really, even the Red album. The Red album's got Pork and Beans and this other song, Troublemaker. That's another song I can really relate to. I'm a troublemaker. The thing about Weezer is they really do like, they rock. You know, this is a quality that maybe people don't appreciate as much as they once did, but Weezer is like an arena rock band. They fit that into these kind of Buddy Holly power chord songs. Their chord progressions, they just use the typical guitar chords. They use G, D, C, E minor, A minor, the big kind of acoustic guitar chords. You can play most Weezer songs on an acoustic guitar, and they sound pretty good. I mean, when I was sitting down to practice for the open mic to just kind of remember what Weezer songs I knew, it's like I knew 10 or 15 Weezer songs without even trying, because it's just like the songwriting, to me, that's one of the hallmarks of good songwriting, is like the chord progressions kind of have a logic, but no one else has figured it out before. Like In the Garage, G to D, A minor to E minor. That's a 1 to a 5, a 2 to a 6. So there's a total balance and there's a total analogy between that chord sequence. But it's just the big regular chords. One of the things that drove us nuts when we were in high school and in college, because you know, every band I was in with Jack and Chip, they always wanted to play Weezer songs, which I completely resisted. This is one of the reasons why Weezer could never really be my own. You know what I mean? They always kind of like, my brother liked them way, you know, he already claimed Weezer. The Green album came out like, you know, my sophomore year of high school, I think. And so like, that was the first Weezer album that really like landed. I mean, I remember Sweater Song and shit. Buddy Holly, of course, from fucking MTV in the mid-90s. One of the greatest music videos ever made. I'm kind of in an awkward place. There's all these fucking people walking by, so maybe I should move or something. It's kind of distracting my conversation skills. And the point of the whole goddamn live stream. I had 2 viewers and they stopped watching. They don't want to hear me talk about Weezer. What should I talk about? Personal drama, burning bridges. I don't know. I think I have narcissistic personality disorder, clearly. I mean, I should have called this vlog narcissistic personality disorder. I feel Lana. I feel Nirvana. His songs have a lot of aphorisms. Everything in a Weezer song is like calculated and like maximized efficiency. There's nothing wasted. Everything has impact. Everything has power. That's what makes it power pop. Every single thing kind of is economized and thought out. It's not like My Bloody Valentine. It's not loose. You know, I wish Weezer would listen to Pavement. I wish Weezer would listen to, I mean, even Wilco. You know, like Lee Moore was talking about Wilco. Shout out to Lee Moore, the great Lee Moore. You know, I listened to some Wilco album probably 5 or 10 years ago. I think, wasn't there a free Wilco album or something? Star Wars or something? And it was super pulled apart. It was very like, loose, but the guitar stuff was just like crazy interesting, you know. Weezer, everything is super tight, everything is sort of orchestral or like composed or arranged. The guitar solos even are like melodic. That was one of the things that was interesting. Rivers Cuomo said is a lot of times he'll write his guitar solos by singing them because he wants a melodic guitar solo, whereas his melodies he'll figure out his melodies on piano to give them kind of a precision, and like you can definitely hear this kind of like classical, like Bach. You can hear these kind of forms, you can hear this kind of balance, the arpeggios, the elongations. The form of the line has this kind of like Baroque or whatever the fuck Bach is, chamber pop. I mean, he's not, you know, Weezer does stay with guitars and kind of just like distortion for the most part. Sometimes they go acoustic, but like they don't really, you know, or synths. They've had a big synth period, but they're not noise music.
Yeah, let's do it. That sounds good. I haven't
They're not the Zombies, you know. They don't go that far. They don't really have anything that sounds. I mean, you can tell they're kind of trying to get a little of that magic in some of their songs. The Turtles, some of their songs kind of sound like the Turtles. Girl, we got a good thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't. So I have narcissistic personality disorder, I think. I don't know. It's like my career in show. I guess I just need to be better. People would book me on shows if I was a better, I guess. So I came on my live stream to, I don't know. It's like therapy. You know, there's all these things going on in my head that I'm like, I want to talk about this. I want to clarify this to the public. I need to make a public statement about this. Or just walking around kind of all day. It's like, I don't know. I look at thinking, I wonder why these things matter and why certain things become preoccupations, certain things pop into your head. Weezer. Why am I so into Weezer now? They've just caught me here. I think it's for English majors. Weezer, you know, it really is. The thing that really hit the switch was this song, Opening Night, which is a recent Weezer album. It's from their last album, The Seasons Cycle. They recently put an album out that was like a summer, spring, winter, fall season cycle. And has this song, Opening Night, which is about outdoor Shakespeare, of all things. This is one of the things I love about Rivers Cuomo, is he is able to get a lot of subject matter into his songs. It isn't just, I love you, you love me. Although there's that too. He's able to write about love in a generic pop way, but in a way that's also very specific and tortured and relatable and kind of adolescent and frustrated and horny. Nerd horniness. That's what Weezer is. It's nerd horniness. You can skip the first 10 minutes of this broadcast. It gets good when I say nerd horniness. Arena, you know, every Weezer song sounds like they're rocking the high school gymnasium. Back to the shack. So, what the fuck was I talking about? English majors. I mean, this song, Opening Night, okay? Shakespeare makes me happy. It's based on Vivaldi. The melody is based on Vivaldi. But the lyrics, like a lot of what Weezer does, are cringe. They really are cringe, but he uses that. He overpowers the cringe because it's true. Shakespeare does make him happy. Falstaff does make him happy. And his melody, the thing is, their sound is so perfect. He really is some kind of like weird precision, like maniac, where it's like his voice, everything on the Weezer album is like totally in the right place. There's nothing extra. Everything's a hook. He's trying to get as many fucking hooks. You can tell he's obsessed with hooks and kind of mind worms and shit. And so he's trying to get as much of that into the song as he can, you know, with his guitar, hip, little things like that. things that, they still play these fucking songs. A lot of times what happens with the Weezer song is it comes out and everybody goes, ugh. It's kind of like staring at the sun. It's like, this Beverly Hills, is this really good? Or, I remember when Pork and Beans came out. The sentiment was, well, of course it's not as good as anything on the Blue album. The Blue album has 10 classic songs. I don't even know how the fuck they did it. There's just like a venting kind of like frustration in that album that none of the other albums really have. That kind of like gives it this like sultry kind of moodiness or something and tone. The other albums feel, I don't know, successful or produced. They feel LA. They feel very LA, which is not a bad thing. I mean, I think Rivers looks at the Beach Boys, right? Stop. It's the Beach Boys. So you can't talk about him without these fucking songs popping into your head, because he's almost like he is a programmer. He teaches some fucking programming class at Harvard, for Christ's sake. And he programs his songs. His songs are like fucking sequencing or something. They're C++. And they're catchy. I don't know. They're hooky. They're hooky as fuck, man. But like the Beach Boys, there's kind of a sonic excellence, and the chord changes. But it's amazing to me that Rivers Cuomo didn't start to write on a piano until like a few years ago. He was writing all those songs on a guitar. It's kind of nuts, because it's not that easy to write interesting melodies and chord sequences always on a guitar. One of the things I really want to explore, apparently Rivers Cuomo wrote all the songs for this movie starring Kelsey Grammer. And so Kelsey Grammer sings all the fucking songs on the soundtrack for this movie. I forget what it's called, but it literally came out like 2 years ago. This is a recent thing that both Kelsey Grammer and Rivers Cuomo did somehow between the season cycle and the Frasier reboot. They figured out a way to fucking team up and record an album of fucking Rivers Cuomo songs sung by Frasier. Of all God. To be honest, I jumped on Spotify and I listened to it a little bit, and it really doesn't sound good. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Rivers Cuomo doesn't write that well for Kelsey Grammer's voice, which is kind of like a husky, hey baby, I hear the blues are called, it's like a husky baritone. Rivers is like an altar boy. He's like this angelic castrato. He's an incel. He's like high school choir guy. He's like the dude who's like a math nerd or an English nerd or whatever. He's AP or whatever, super introverted. But then he just breaks out like in the High School Musical with like this unbelievable voice, and you're like, God damn, that guy can sing like an angel. He sings like a choir boy. But did they invent emo? I guess they did. I'm not exactly sure how that equation worked, but I was watching this cover it was Weezer with My Chemical Romance doing My Name is Jonas. See, that's what I love about Weezer, is like they're open to the new shit. He's listening to he's into dumb pop shit. He's into dumb pop music, and like that's what he makes. But he does, he's not too smart. This is what I was trying to figure out. Is Weezer a poetry band? Is Rivers Cuomo a poet? And I think he's like Archibald MacLeish. I think it's appropriate that Rivers Cuomo went to Harvard. I do think he's a poet, but I also think he's like a meter nerd or something. He's like Robert Penn Warren or something, like he's not doing anything super like. There is an avant-garde element to Weezer. A lot of the fashion choices Weezer makes, or their album covers are super. Every time a Weezer album came out, it was like, Jesus Christ, that's the cover. That mustache with the cowboy hat, and then there was the Ratitude with that dog. The dog that's like, ah! The Ratitude cover is super amazing. But when you saw it, you're just like, Jesus Christ, like, have some self-respect. This is your album. This is seriously the fucking cover you want? It's like dog that's like flying, like, of course the greatest was the Hurley album cover, which is just the dude from Lost. It's just the guy Jorge Garcia, I think his name is, from Lost. It's literally just a close-up picture of that guy. Has nothing to do with Weezer at all. They're not on it. There's no photoshopping. It's literally just a picture of him. To me, that's a pretty avant-garde decision, actually. In the world of pop music, I don't know. I think Rivers probably has narcissistic personality. These are almost like Kanye decisions. You know, Weezer and Kanye are not that different. And maybe they are both toxic male club bangers that fuck super hard and are undeniable. I mean, Weezer fucks hard. I mean, Pork and Beans, come on. I remember the first time I heard Pork and Beans, I was training to be a DJ at this club, Ugly Tuna Saloona, which people in Columbus, Ohio might remember. It was a classic scum, it was just a filthy college scum hole. Just like a corporate college bar, they built this gateway. They tore down all these old, you know, clubs that had Soul, Mean Mr. Mustards, and all these places my dad used to play that were like, you know, probably cool places, but they tore them down and built this gateway, which was like this big corporate, you know, it just looks like all the ugly art. It was like a pioneer of the neo-ugly architecture that surrounds us now. And Ugly Tuna Saloona was like a bar. I used to go there because I was desperate. It was a desperate life I had in Columbus. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. So I'd go to Ugly Tuna Saloona. They, you know, they have like bowl drinks, you know, like a fish bowl with all kind of fucking straw, you know, hepatitis in it, all kind of STDs, whatever STD you're in. You know, McFadden's was downstairs. It was Sky Bar. I loved Sky Bar. R.I.P. Sky Bar was brief but magnificent. One of the great nights of my life. My life has just been pathetic. Going to Sky Bar, listening to Ain't No Fun, dancing with this amazing woman who worked at Abercrombie. One of the greatest nights of my life. And then Ugly Tuna Saloona. So I was training. I trained with this guy Rob, DJ Rob Ice or something. I don't remember. Somehow he was a DJ and he didn't hire me. He had these playlists. Club Bangers was the one I remember. I can't remember the other names. Club Bangers. So he had. I remember Gasolina was super big that year. You throw Gasolina on, and everybody would go ape shit. That's how, you know, this was what, 2007, 8, something like that. 6, 7, 8. Who the fuck knows? Somewhere back in there, 6, 7, 8, somewhere back in there, you know. The Obama, well, no, those were the fucking Bush years. That explains a lot. And so Pork and Beans came out, the Red album. Rivers is wearing a cowboy hat. He has a mustache or something. And then Scott Schreiner's in the band. They finally got a reliable. See, Scott Schreiner is a perfect example of what Weezer did. They did what they had to do to survive in the modern, brutal landscape. We live in a world of metalheads and just and big, brutal craft beer drinking, tattooed Nordic hordes. You know, everybody in mainland America is listening to fucking, like, Metallica's like an oldies band. And so Weezer is, you know, they've always had metal influence. If you listen to White Album, or a Green Album, or a Blue Album, or a Red Album, or Yellow, you know, you hear Nirvana, you hear the Pixies, you hear Alice in Chains, you hear grunge a little bit. You know, they're nerds. He's Buddy Holly, so he can't really do it hard. He's not a scumfuck, you know, meth head from... Although he was kind of a meth head. He was on Demerol during Pinkerton when he got his leg elongated. They cut Rivers' leg in half. And he had to elongate it 1 millimeter a day with screws in his leg. Torturous. That's why Pinkerton sounds like this, like, narcotic Alice in Wonderland fall through, just like grasping for any kind of, but powerful and slinky, you know, this time signatures. Things are kind of woozy and stars. You see stars in Pinkerton. It's kind of cloudy and anesthetized, but not like Radiohead, you know, still pumping out the Kiss. You know, Weezer super influenced by Kiss, who I saw in concert. I've seen Weezer twice. Once in high school. It was one of the seminal events of my youth, the Weezer concert at the Shot and Seed Center. They were one of the few culturally relevant things was even remote to us. Most of the music I liked was my parents' music. It was all music from the 60s. To me, that music just seem more human and better. You know, Weezer was dope, but it is kind of like distorted guitars. And it sounds like static. It sounds like white noise, a lot of it, even though it's very organized and kind of compartmentalized. Uh, it's still just like, you know, big kind of hushes of guitars. And I don't know. I liked 60s music where it was a little more, it was not quite as loud. And, you know, the tonal palette of Weezer was kind of limited in a sense. They didn't, especially, you know, before, they got weirder as they went along and tried new stuff. But, you know, especially before the Green album, you know, there was only a couple albums out and they were not that adventurous sonically. It was mostly guitars. There wasn't, you know, fucking mellotrons or any kind of weird shit on it for the most part. Or like later they'd get really into synths. And I mean, that Pacific Daydream album, it's a mall album, but it really works. I mean, I'm not sure if Weezer's even on that album. Is it all just like sequencing and synths and shit? I don't know, but maybe maybe Rivers should get back to lead guitar and Pat should play the drums, you know? How about that? Maybe disco sucks, Rivers. But I like Pacific Daydream. It's dope as fuck. It's but it's Super California and Expialidocious. What was I going to say about people keep walking by? Some important thing I was going to say about Weezer. The Weezer Cruise. I mean, that's pretty avant-garde, I feel. Do yourself a favor. When this is over, go on YouTube and watch Rivers reading the Pinkerton Diaries on the Weezer Cruise. It's like a poetry reading. Except it's not poetry. It's his diaries. But he's sitting on a fucking stool. It's in like the lounge of the goddamn cruise ship. And, you know, he reads it like it's a reading that you'd go to at the church or something. And, oh God, speaking of which, Jesus Christ. And so, you know, this plays into the question, is Rivers a poet? Is he, you know, how seriously can we take his literary, you know, he did go to Harvard. He was an English major. But I'm looking at his, like, you know, book picks on, well, the song, what's the one, Grapes of Wrath? I think he should have called it something else. It's all about listening to books on tape, which I think is a really smart thing to write a song about, actually. He's encouraging people to listen to literature on audio, which I think is very smart. You know, this is one reason why I do this. This is one reason, pin sound, recording poetry readings. This is one reason why I record the open mic. I'm trying to encourage people to listen to literature. I mean, reading it is important and the central thing, and digging into it that way, but I think listening to it on audible.com, but his picks, Grapes of Wrath, he does mention Mrs. Dalloway. That's pretty interesting. You know, I was wondering if Rivers is into James Joyce. I think James Joyce is probably a little too weird for him. I think Rivers would definitely like Dubliners. I would recommend Dubliners, or maybe Proust. Rivers might like Proust, maybe. That might be a little too flamboyant, or I don't know, Prague. Is Rivers Prague? I think they respect Prague and they're all about technique. He's definitely a technique junkie, but his songs are pretty simple. You know, a lot of those early Weezer songs are really just two chords. They're just G and C. Almost all the songs are in G, and they just vamp on G and C, and then he does something different for like the chorus, where there's like actually a little bit of a sequence. But a lot of it, like El Scorcho, is just G and C the whole fucking time, practically. Sweater Song, practically same fucking thing. G, C, and D. A lot of their songs are three fucking chords. But the melodies and everything are simple but complicated at the same time. He says shit, everything is super memorable and super smart. The stories he chooses to tell: in the garage, I feel safe, no one cares about my ways. He's got 12-sided die. It's the first line in the song. He's stating his allegiance to D&D and tabletop gaming. You know, in 1994, that stuff wasn't that cool. Now it's taken over the whole fucking culture. But, like, you know, in 1994, it wasn't that cool to be rolling 12-sided die. And he was doing it in the 70s. World building, right? World building. His Kiss poster, he's got Ace Frehley, he's got Nightcrawler. You know, he totally paints a picture of practice space, teenage solitude. It's a safe place. It's a happy place in the garage, you know. It's a beautiful, beautiful ode to the workshop and to woodshedding and to you know, it's sort of a Bildungsroman. It's a coming of age story about an artist, you know, an artist's influences, how they learned. These are the things that they put together to make Weezer. You know, he did a good job. You know, they were 23 or 24 when that fucking album came out, the Blue Album, and those songs fucking hold up. If that's important to people, you know, I wish they were a little more experimental. I wish they were a little looser, but maybe that's Pavement's job. You know, when you put Weezer up next to Pavement and Silver Jews, you know, how does Weezer compare? How would you analyze the differences and similarities? Because to me, they are kind of all from the same era. And these are bands, Dinosaur Jr. maybe. I haven't listened to them that much, but, you know, is Weezer a poetry band? They're almost too good. They're too good to be Weezer's a highly functioning poet. We're not all that high functioning. If you want to skip ahead, I'll be talking about Weezer for the next hour and a half, but this is my lecture. These are my Charles Eliot Norton lectures on Weezer. Harvard laureate, class laureate, Rivers Cuomo. I mean, he's got a poetry name. There's no question he's got a poetry name. I mean, that is an amazing name. He's a bizarrely compelling figure. For as normal as he looks, he's kind of a surprising and like mesmerizing or charismatic figure. You know, he looks just like the Sprint guy or any other white guy with these glasses. You know, you put these glasses on a white guy with brown hair, they look like the Weezer guy. It's just how it is since the 90s, okay? It's what I have to live with, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, to be honest, I do think I got these glasses in high school because I wanted to look like not necessarily Rivers Cuomo, but Rivers, you know, I just wanted black horn-rimmed glasses because everybody who I ever thought was cool wore them, you know. James Dean or, you know, John Lennon had black horn-rimmed glasses. And they were harder to get in the 90s. Everything was wire-framed and kind of minimalist. Chunky glasses got back in kind of in the 2010s, 2005, 2010. But, you know, Rivers Cuomo was like somebody who girls listened to and, like, thought was cute or something. You know, which in fucking high school in, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s, there wasn't that many things you could relate to. You know, they looked like us. We looked like them. We were like them. They were like us. They were nerds. We weren't the Strokes. I still haven't listened to the Strokes. They're too sexy for me. They're studs. I can't, you know, Weezer, they look like us. They're the nerds at the party. They're kind of the art kids in a way. I do think Rivers is kind of like, look at his haircuts and shit. Look at the Sweater Song video. He's got that mushroom haircut. So he was named Rivers because he was born in Manhattan between the rivers. He said his mom could hear the rivers from her hospital window, so she named him Rivers. His parents, I think, were like hippies. They lived on like communes. They were like Buddhist hippies and shit. Which makes a lot of sense. They moved around like upstate, kind of Hudson Valley and like Connecticut to different like kind of hippie. That's my vague understanding of it. I'm not, you know, I don't totally know. But he grew up listening to Kiss and fucking Judas Priest and Quiet Riot and shit, you know? That's what he's trying to do in his music. And they do. All of those songs. That's one of the reasons why I like them. For whatever reason, I don't know if that's an archaic energy. You know, kids these days, they like chill. I'm not sure rock and roll. Rock and roll. I'm not sure rock and roll. Rock and roll. You know, is rock and roll a big deal? I don't think. I wonder if these people are getting annoyed that I'm doing this. I wonder. Maybe I'll take it on the walking here in a second. Rock and roll has this very like up, hot, pumping kind of energy and rhythm, and that might be dying out. You know, the Kiss kind of arena rock, anthemic. You know, a lot of Kiss's songs are these kind of fist pumping, kind of dumb, Spinal Tap, sexual, double entendre, big choruses, clap, stomp, clap. You know, you can hear the bleachers and the screams, the lights, the fog machine. That's Weezer. That's all what Weezer wants to do. All of that. Weezer wants all of that. He wants to rock the stadium, and he does. They still are. That's one of the things why I respect them, because they're still on tour. They're on tour right now. They're on the indie rock road trip, and they're out there playing to fucking thousands of people. Last time I saw them, the two times I saw them, it was like two different experiences entirely. And flip side of the first time I saw him, I think was 2001. It was Tenacious D opened. He played the saxophone, which Tenacious D was like my favorite band in high school, to be honest, or one of them. And then Jimmy Eat World opened. Jimmy Eat World opened, and then Tenacious D, and then Weezer, which, this was like Mecca. This was like the gathering of the juggalos. For Weezer heads, which, everybody who was a nerd, who was smart, on the Lit Mag, everybody who worked on the Lit Mag in high school was into Weezer. Jenna, Erie Meyer, not to name names. I don't mean to name names, rat anybody out on the Weezer list, but Corbin, Chip, Ben Hartenstein, Emma Avalos, they were our band, This is, even though I sort of disavowed it at the time, I was sort of like, Jack liked Weezer, Chip liked Weezer, I didn't listen that much, but I liked what I heard. I liked Buddy Holly and shit, of course. So we saw him at Schottenstein Center in Columbus, Ohio, and Rivers, they were just super, they seemed like they were in a bad mood or something. They just kind of came out and played. It seemed kind of perfunctory, didn't really say anything, but that's kind of what you expected. That was Rivers Cuomo's reputation at the time. You thought, Pinkerton had just come out. They were trying to mount a comeback of sorts with the Green album. He thought their career was over. Pinkerton was looked on as kind of this bomb follow-up that was really a bad album. And so he was trying to get back to formula with the Green album, which had just come out with Hash Pipe. Which at high school, it was a song about a transvestite prostitute. That was pretty hot stuff when we were in 10th grade or whatever. Hash Pipe, pretty edgy. You could tell he's listening to hip-hop stuff with hooks, stuff with really lyrical kind of macking quality. And maybe I should walk toward the sunset. And like an island in the sun. The great poems of our age. See, there's a line for everything. And they're tight. They're super tight. The songs are all super tight. Yeah, so it was, his reputation at the time was he was kind of a pissy, moody guy, and so that's just what you expected. You expected it was okay. I don't remember it being great, I don't remember anything standing out except like he was moody. There's probably a video of it on YouTube. Maybe I should watch it on YouTube. Schottenstein's Weezer concert, early 2000s. But then, I didn't finish the story about Pork and Beans. I'll get back to that. I saw him in 2010, right before I moved to New York, with Joel and Luthfi at Ohio State on the Oval. They played a free concert for, like, college kids. And, there was probably, 10,000 OSU students, young bros and shit. Kids that play soccer. And wear, like, windbreakers and shit. and they were amazing. They blew me away. Like they just had so much showmanship. He was really playing the crowd. They all could play lead guitar. It was the tour where Rivers was doing like frontman shit. He wasn't playing guitar. Pat was playing guitar. They all fucking played lead guitar. It was insane. And then they had this kind of famous session drummer play drums. But it was an amazing show. It was almost like too good. Like a lot of their stuff, it was like it seemed kind of synthetic, like how like crowd pleasing and like well done it was. And like afterwards they were fucking hanging out by their bus, just like being very convivial, saying hello to people, talking to people that wanted to come up and say hello. Trying to approach them was kind of funny. Everybody was kind of scared and like kind of treading lightly, you know. Scott Schreiner, yeah, so Scott Schreiner I feel like is like he was in Vanilla Ice's new metal band. Which I think is all Rivers Cuomo needed to hear, honestly. If you're in Vanilla Ice's new metal band, I think that's exactly the direction Rivers wanted to take Weezer in. He wanted to make it Vanilla Ice's new metal band. When is Rivers going to have a new metal period? That's what I'm wondering. Has Weezer put out a new metal album yet? Is he going to do a Limp Bizkit collaboration? Or like a Kid Rock? Can we get Wes Borland on a fucking Weezer track? Like new metal's coming back, right? It's been back for a couple years, so I feel like we're due for a Weezer new metal album. So it was like two completely different concert experiences. Okay, so Pork and Beans. I was training to be a DJ at Ugly Tuna Saloon in Columbus, Ohio. Where the bar is famous because like somebody disappeared. This doctor guy like disappeared. It was not that that's funny or anything, but like it's that kind of place. People just like, they'd go there and they'd just like disappear, and then they'd find their body in a ditch or something. It was a scary campus, scum hole. But the DJ, it was like, they were going to do foam parties there. He's like, we're going to do foam parties. We're going to do wet t-shirt contests. And like, as the DJ, you have to like, sometimes you have to like tell these chicks, you have to be like, hell, like pour water on her chest, or like make that t-shirt wet. Like you have to do that as the DJ. Are you ready to do that? This is like part of my interview training process. I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah. I'll throw the foam party. I couldn't wait to throw a foam party. Are you kidding me? That's my dream job. To be the foam party DJ at Ugly Tuna Saloon. Clearly I wasn't cool enough. I should have been at the Weezer. Where's the Weezer foam party? Maybe I could DJ the Weezer foam party, but I don't know if DJing was... I didn't listen to that much modern music, So I wasn't that... I didn't know what fucking Gasolina was. So, he was like a video DJ, which at the time, that was very like... That was pretty ahead of its time. This was like 2007 or something. This was just a job I found on Craigslist. I applied off Craigslist. I went to the interview. I think, he trained me like a couple times and it just didn't stick. It was one of those kind of things, Rob. And he didn't hire me. But he was a video DJ, and so at Ugly Tuna Saloon, he'd play videos, when he was DJing. And one of the videos I remember seeing was Pork and Beans by Weezer, which has all those YouTube fucking celebrities in it. It's a pretty amazing video, really. But, they're playing in a college bar in 2007, and it slaps. And it still slaps. It's still a fucking good song. But at the time, you kind of had the reaction to it like you do to every Weezer song, where it's like, what the fuck is this, man? This Pork and Beans? Like, what is this about? Beverly Hills seemed kind of underwhelming. It's just Louie Louie. That's why I don't think it's that special of a song. The sentiment is kind of a cliche. I comment on it because Rivers claims it's his... I have to delete this stream. There's no way I can let this exist on the internet and show people that I'm this much of a Weezer nerd. I mean, I've literally just been obsessed for like the past week. Ashley, this is your fault. it's got this like emo theater kid quality in a way that like I think that's why Ashley likes it. There's like this cringe kind of corniness to a lot of the newer stuff. Bup 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 ba dup ba dup, whatever the fuck that song is. A lot of the lyrics are like Thank God for Girls, that song. The beginning of that song is like wow, very cringe. But like you can't look away. It's so interesting to listen to and memorable. And Rivers really is an effective writer and a good writer. You know, he's writing like super memorable. You know, he's sending a message to people. He's strategic about how he does it. It's one of his many interests and talents: songwriting, guitar playing, computer programming. He's a vegetarian. Soccer. He's really into soccer. But I think he like is meticulous about how he trains himself and to do things right, to do things kind of mechanically correct. I saw this video on Instagram or something of him like training with like some soccer coach who was like, fixing his posture while he was like juggling and all this stuff. And so I'm like, that's probably how he does everything, his guitar playing and everything. Like, this is, to be honest, even though I look sort of in a superficial way like Rivers Cuomo, I'm not like him really. Like I'm more into the emotive, or like I am more into noise music and abstract art and avant in I don't know, things that sort of defy expectations. It's hard, I guess, to write. I mean, there's not many people that can write songs that are that memorable and that work that well. I mean, that's what's hard about it. That's what has made them relevant for 30 years and has made them the 340th most listened to artists on Spotify in the world to this day. I mean, a lot of their songs have hundreds of millions of plays, which for older bands is not that common. Island in the Sun's got over 300 million plays. I think the Sweater Song has a lot of plays. Buddy Holly, of course. But even more of their recent songs have, a lot of Weezer songs have like millions of plays. So it's like they work hard on their stuff to make it good. And I don't know. I don't know if they go as deep. They definitely don't go as deep as like Silver Jews. Like I'm trying to compare because I'm going to try to write this play about Rivers Cuomo. I don't know. I just find not that he is the way that he actually is. I was watching podcast interviews with him and stuff, and he's a cool guy, but like I'm more just fascinated by kind of the idea of him and the kind of mystique and their place in the culture. They've had this kind of winding journey in a weird way where they've gone through all these different kind of albums, but they are also kind of all the same. They're like the Rolling Stones or something in that regard. Weezer, when I was in high school, it would have been perfectly plausible that they would have just broken up and that would have been the end of it. As far as we were concerned, it seemed that way kind of went at the time. It seemed like maybe after the Green album or something, like that was going to be the end of it. But then they just kept coming out with more stuff. I liked, there were some songs on Make Believe that were pretty good. Dope Nose and This Is Such a Pity I really liked when it came out. That was like in my iTunes. I listened to that pretty regularly. My friends, who all were like Weezer nerds of varying degree, or at least, the people I played music with for the most part. Jack, even Zach kind of listened to Weezer a little bit. Because they all kind of, there's like a weird Beach Boys kind of connection or something.
I was trying to make Midway work, and it wasn't really
Melodic. Weezer is melodic. They're super melodic. in a way that like rock and roll fans from the 60s are familiar with. You know, there's a lot of newer bands that are melodic, maybe that, you know, like anything post emo, post Fallout Boy, whatever, My Chemical Romance, you know, like my friends don't really listen to that stuff. But they can listen to Weezer because it's part dad rock. It's part Kiss, it's part Public Enemy, it's part grunge, it's part Bach, it's part the Ramones. There's a lot of punk influence in Weezer. But I encourage people, premiering on YouTube is the Mung concert. This is one of the things that sort of got me back into Weezer was we did this concert in high school my sophomore year where we threw a concert in the high school auditorium. It's still probably one of the coolest things I ever did in high school. And we played this, you know, our band played in the high school auditorium. But at the time, we were basically like a Weezer cover band. We just played, you know, all we wanted to play was Weezer songs. We played a lot of stuff. We played Rage Against the Machine, fucking Linkin Park. We played the Kids in the Hall theme song. We were eclectic. We played 7 and 7 Is by Love. We played Walk Don't Run. We played Amino Man by the Aquabats. My brother was really into the Aquabats. We started with that song. We played Alien Ant Farm's cover of the Smooth Criminal. Shit was all over the place in the late 90s, early 2000s, musically. We had a couple originals. Chip wrote a song that was pretty good. I forget what it was called. But the Mung concert, I encourage people to watch it on YouTube. It's an interesting time capsule. It's just kids in high school just going wild in the auditorium. And so I was just trying to recapture some of that energy. That's kind of what the Weezer cruise was about. Weezer, one of the things that has powered me through periods of like sadness or like, I don't know, fear over the past few years, like the pandemic, for instance, you know, honestly, the one thing that kind of saved me during the pandemic was Van Halen, because it's in my book, my High on Life book. When I was driving home from New York, listening to the radio, I heard all these Van Halen songs. It was not a, you know, I was super, you know, it was October of 2020. It was not a great time for me. And Van Halen came on the radio, and I started watching all these YouTube videos when I got home. But I was listening to all these because Van Halen is all over classic rock radio, like my poem says. They play tons of Van Halen, just like Weezer, you know, because their records are perfect. You know, Eddie Van Halen has an ear and a precision. I don't think Rivers is that good. Rivers is not as good as Eddie Van Halen. His ear is not that sharp. It's not. The Weezer records are not as sharp as the Van Halen records. But there's maybe a lot more hooks. Weezer maybe has more, I don't know. Weezer's maybe more packed with hooks. But Van Halen stuff is super, super fucking precise and on point. And Weezer is definitely precise, but it's not that fucking precise. But it was the attitude. It was David Lee Roth, right? And it was the combination of kind of the hook vocals and the memorable kind of phraseology. The way that Rivers Cuomo writes lyrics is a lot like David Lee Roth, where it's just pithy lines, little snippets of poetry, hooks, funny shit. Oh man, one of the best lines. What is it about? In Troublemaker, marry a biatch, have 5 key odds. That's one of the best rhymes I've heard in a song this year. Marry a biatch, have 5 key odds. That's like a David Lee Roth lyric. It's macho, kind of dumb, but David Lee Roth is a genius too, and a genius kind of conversationalist and talker and bullshitter, and very meticulous with how he would place his lyrics. He earned it. He earned his status as kind of a legend because he really did place his poetry on that music. And he came up with a lot of those hooks and a lot of those concepts. You know, David Lee Roth could hear what Eddie Van Halen was playing and go Panama. You know, that's not a direct leap from that music to Panama. That's David Lee Roth taking it there. That's his genius, you know. And it does make the song, you know, to be honest. Hot for Teacher would not be the same. I mean, just look at Sammy Hagar. Hey, Sammy Hagar does not have a Hot for Teacher, okay? That is a pure David Lee Roth. That's almost like a Weezer song. Weezer could totally have a song called Hot for Teacher or something. They have a lot of songs that are sort of like concept situations. I'm trying to think of an example right now. I'm still getting deeply more and more absorbed in the Weezer catalog. The closest thing I can compare this to was also when I listened to the Beach Boys in 2017. Summer 2017, all I listened to was just like all the Beach Boys shit. Smile and just all of it. All the 70s shit, Good Timin', Keeping Summer Alive. It's all good. It's all fucking good. With these bands, if they're that good of musicians and writers, in their eccentric kind of geniuses like Rivers and Brian Wilson are, it's kind of worth listening to all of it, to be honest. And it's all provocative at the very least, which is all I kind of am asking for. It's still provocative. He's like a smart mouth kid or something. So Van Halen, the energy in Van Halen, you know, when I was at my mom's house, sitting in the fucking living room, trying not to die during the pandemic, and watching YouTube videos. You know, I was watching Roth show, etc., etc., and listening. I had a vinyl. It was my Aunt Susie's. My mom had some of my Aunt Susie's stuff, who was a music teacher, and she had some of her vinyl, and I'm going through. She had Diver Down, which is the Van Halen album that starts with Where Have All the Good Times Gone. It's got You Really Got Me on it. It's got Secrets. I really like Secrets. Happy Trails is not so good, but it's on there. It's like a Weezer album. Weezer albums are a lot like Van Halen. They're covers, the different varieties of what they've done. It's very similar to Van Halen. I wouldn't be surprised if Weezer kind of modeled their career on Van Halen in some ways. But I listen to this album a lot, and just like the attitude, the attitude of Van Halen is super athletic. They make you feel like you're like lifting off. It's that 80s kind of Reagan hovercraft, like Top Gun. It was the beginning of that. Jump, everything's kind of rising, and it's Tron, but it's still guitars, and it's athletic. It's kind of macho, it's kind of sexual, but like in a fun way. Not in a bad way, it's like, it's a kind of masculinity that's not, it's not toxic, but it is also like very masculine. Like David Lee Roth, Eddie Van Halen, they're sucking down Jack Daniels, and like, they're in a rock band, they're having fun. And I mean, David Lee Roth is just like a hilarious fucking genius on stage. He's an MC. He's totally an MC. He's totally a host. He's the Toastmaster General for the, that era. And just that music really just kind of Drop Dead Legs, Unchained, that song. I listen to that song a lot. It really helped energize me. It really helped. I do feed on that kind of energy. I do have, that. This is something people remark on me on stage a lot, my energy. I'd like to tone it down. Maybe I should try to tone it down and just be mellow for a change. I'm working on that. Oh, God. But, that big, meaty, big and bouncy energy was a big part of my youth. Led Zeppelin energy, big rock and roll energy was a big part of my youth, which has kind of submerged in the last couple of decades. People have become more and more clinically depressed and on drugs, We are all on drugs. That was a song that when it came out just seemed like kind of a curiosity, but I'm like, my God, it's so true. We are all on drugs. Give me some of that stuff, or whatever the fuck he says. It's so good. I can't wait till I get off this so I can listen to it again. It's Total Pop Candy. You know, he wants to make Total Pop Candy. Should I change the camera angle, or are we getting bored of this? Should I get moving? Maybe I should move. Let me just finish this and maybe I'll start walking. But I'm focusing. I'm really on a good Weezer, kind of honing in. I really. We are all on drugs. You know, what does Malcolmus think about Rivers? What does Thurston think about Rivers? What did David Berman think about Rivers? You know, what does Bill Callahan think about Rivers? What would Kurt think about Rivers? Weezer kind of happened after Kurt Cobain died in a way. Maybe symbolically, Kurt Cobain, he wouldn't want to see Weezer. He saw Weezer, he heard the preview and he blew his brains out. He was like, I'm done. I got to get off this planet. I got to get, Weezer's happening. Everybody's becoming a wimp. But those Spike Jones videos are amazing. I mean, if anybody knows the power of a music video, it should be Weezer. Once again, another kind of Van Halen-ish thing. They still make good music videos. You can just tell they have fun doing all of it, you know. I gotta listen to this Kelsey Grammer musical written by Rivers Cuomo. All right, yeah, I guess the energy is changing, so maybe it's time to move on. What else should I talk about? I don't want my phone to die. Well, I do want to talk about personal matters, I guess, and just apologize to everybody in my life. I don't mean to be a fucking prick. To be honest, it's all about electronic communication. I really feel like it's unnatural to be bombarded with all these messages and to have responsibility to all these fucking electronic conversations and to do it in a timely manner. It's just so hard, you know, because I'm somebody that I really love being alone. I really crave solitude and like, I don't always want to get back on emails, and I smoke weed constantly, which makes it very difficult to write messages. So like, a lot of the problems that I have with people are probably just because, you know, of my problems with electronic messaging, sending messages back in a timely manner and doing it in a respectful way. I don't really always take time to do that. But, narcissistic personality disorder. I have a line in one of my poems, I am the bitch of my grandma. No offense to my grandma. She's an amazing matriarch and a great lady. But I am a lot like my grandma, I think, in that, like, my grandma, like, her family, right? She's got 9 kids, and, like, she's constantly, like, I don't know if playing favorites, but, like, you know, anything is perceived as a slight. If you don't show up to Thanksgiving or Christmas or this or that, she gets pissed about it. And then she'll, like, the image that I have in my head is of my family is of them, like, feeling indignant about, like, the way they've been passed over or something. Like, well, we've been waiting here. Like at my brother's wedding, you know, his wife's family, like, they played all this music and they went out of their way to kind of make his wife's family happy. And my brother's, our family felt like, oh, we're just second-class citizens or something. You know, they're always kind of taking that point of view. And it's like, I can see that kind of mental movie playing in my head constantly of, like, my family going, you know, like, oh, well, you know, just feeling bad, sorry for themselves and, like, you know, pity me, and, you know, I've been waiting here, you know, you don't, you know, I've been waiting to eat. You don't need to bring me my food, you know, and, I don't know, it's like, I don't mean to be petty about stuff at all. This is a problem I've always had with collaboration and group projects and just, like, involving myself with people in general. It's just like I have a huge ego, and you know, I don't have the self-discipline to make my work immediately good for people. I like to do stuff that's a little more complicated and a little messier and more self-indulgent and, I don't know, esoteric or lazy or all natural, de rigueur. I like shit that's less mediated, but increasingly you just need to make things that are perfectly made. If you want something to last, if it's on the internet and in the kind of age of mechanical reproduction, if you want something to travel, you just have to make it super good, super well. And, like a Weezer song, it will just grow. Over the years, people will understand, oh, that's what he was doing. We were wrong about Pork and Beans and Beverly Hills. And if you're wondering if I want you to, I want you to. And the list goes on. His Frasier album. We were wrong about his Frasier album. Not to compare myself to, a great genius like Rivers. I'm on 11th Street, by the way, in good old Greenwich Village. I'm looking at Palazzo Ciuppi, the phallic symbol of Julian Schnabel, the phallic monument to himself. As the old New York dies, one venue at a time, one artist at a time, one career at a time, one interesting. Okay, so I got an email from a venue. Well, this venue wanted to book, they confirmed us for the show, but they sent an email that said, you guys would be great for a ticketed venue, but at our show, we've noticed that your guests are not really buying anything, which is devastating to our staff. And on top of that, the music you play is loud and experimental, and people in the front of the bar want a more chill vibe, and they left. They were scared away by your loud experimental music. Is there anything we can do about this? Could you impart a drink minimum or encourage people to drink, or, what can we do? So I'm getting artistic criticism. This is the problem I always have with venues. With System Lord, maybe I need to change. I need to evolve as an artist. I need to evolve out of this angry, violent stage persona into something more chill. Like Rivers. Rivers is always evolving, even though he looks exactly the same. He's looked exactly the same for the last 30 years. The glasses, I guess, hide it. So, I don't know. Like, I do want to book something with them, but I'm also like, it's just a bummer, It's just a bummer to feel like you're going too hard for people, And it's a bummer to feel like you're threatened in, like, that's the place where I feel safe. Is on stage. This is like the Lenny Bruce documentary. A lot of the greats, not to compare myself, but wasn't it Billie Holiday and did Charlie Parker? They got banned from New York venues. They couldn't perform because they didn't have cabaret license or, this or that. They got busted for heroin, so they got the ban from the venue. Like literally they couldn't perform. Lenny Bruce couldn't perform. He'd get arrested everywhere he went. Every show he did, he'd get arrested. That was like his income. So his whole life fell apart, because he couldn't do live shows. I guess when you're super fucking powerful, they can't handle it. And you get banned. I'm just like Lenny Bruce. I'm just like Billie Holiday. I'm just like Charlie Parker, man. I'm just too much of a super fucking genius. JK, JK, JK. So yeah, I've just been feeling, the last couple weeks have been something changed in the astrology. Maybe because it's Leo season. Leo season is always rough for me. The hot, hot, hot summer. It's rough for me way out here on Pluto in Aquarian land. My tooth is cracked, and I apologize to anybody if I've been rude in the last week. My tooth cracked last Monday, so I've been kind of worried about the impending saga of trying to get that fixed, or the pain of what that's going to mean. I almost got robbed a couple weeks ago. I got shit on by a bird yesterday. It's just, it's just one of those times, But a lot of good stuff has been happening too. Like I said, the sanctuary has been on stage, and I do try to tone it down. I don't want to break stuff. That's one thing, I've been careful about recently. With System Lord, with Young Ethels, I just thought they were, oh fuck, I said their name. Fuck. Bleep that out. I'll edit that out later. I thought they were down with anything. I didn't realize people weren't, it seemed to me like people were buying stuff. At the last gig, it seemed like we brought in a good amount of people. There were definitely 15 to 20 people there, and it definitely seemed like a lot of them were drinking. All of fucking Dose Cowboys friends, you're telling me they were not buying drinks? I find that hard to believe. Those people were not buying drinks. Like, they were all fucking partying their asses off, as far as I could tell. Like, I may have even said something about support the venue, buy drinks or something. I remember looking around the venue and seeing people with drinks in their hands. But we may have scared people out of the front of the bar. What I would say, they have a speaker in the front of the bar that plays the music from the back, which is a cool thing, and I wish people liked it, but it's Park Slope, so they're all lame. They don't want loud fucking abrasive music, I guess. They want loud experimental music. About, what was I yelling about that day? I don't remember. They could turn off the speaker in the front. We don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Just turn it off. Put on the house music. That's fine with System Lord. We don't mind. We don't mind if there's other music playing. You don't have to play our fucking music to the front of the house as like background music. Me screaming about Fauci or whatever. That's totally fine. Like, sorry. We'll tone it down next time. Next time we'll do like a more of a Laraji type piece. I do want to get to a place where I'm, that's one of the things about listening to Weezer is kind of a re-entry to guitar for me. The past few months have been about re-entry to guitar, playing guitar again, and sort of reconnecting with songwriting and legible song forms after a few years in outer space playing free jazz, which I love and I still do, and it's still part of my process. But Weezer is the thing that I can connect to. To get back to the main subject, Weezer. No, I'm just kidding. Where it's like, now I can understand what they're doing a little bit more and get more out of it. I can see how, holy smokes, now that I'm like listening to all this, I'm like, oh man, there was tons of Weezer stuff in Holy Smokes. I tried to throw a hip hip thing into one of the songs that didn't really work. She Made It of Plastic is kind of like Weezer-y. There were sort of Weezer. It was a touchstone for everybody in the band, right? We could have played tons of Weezer songs if we wanted to. But at the time, like I said, I spent the last 20 years of my life in denial about Weezer. And so I'm having my come to Jesus moment. And it's good. It is good. I'm bathed in the waters, in the rivers. I've been baptized in the rivers. Please like and subscribe if you're out there watching. We've got some exciting premieres. We've got the Mung concert premiering. We got last night's open mic premiering. The Weezer Cruise, where we cover. I thought we had an eclectic and good selection of Weezer songs. It seemed to me like an effective way to bring home the Weezer Cruise. And so yeah, it's kind of a return to lot of the bands that I've been in, it's one of the touchstone, because you can actually play their songs on guitar. You can play Say It Ain't So. You can play the Sweater Song. It's probably one of the first songs a lot of people learn. The Sweater Song is very easy to play. People I knew that couldn't even play guitar could play the Sweater Song. One of the things, well, I don't want to go back into Weezer. I'll talk about my personal life. People don't want to hear about fucking Weezer anymore. I could talk about Weezer for hours. I should just start a podcast about Weezer. Well, that's the ultimate white guy thing. What's the whitest guy thing you could possibly do? Start a podcast about Weezer. It's the ultimate white guy activity. Podcast with your friends about Weezer. What the fuck was I just talking about? Yeah, this has been Return to Legible Music, sort of. Return to playing guitar for real, for real. See, the problem is I have to accept any thought that comes into my head, because if I reject anything, then I get derailed, I get off track. So I just have to accept the thing I was going to say about Sweater Song. The thing that's interesting about Sweater Song, okay, is the chord formation kind of turns the guitar on its head in a bizarre way, because it's this G with like a seventh or something on top, and then you move it up, and then you slide it up. But the thing about the B string, right, is it's a half step down from the rest of the strings. So when you move that formation up, the note that you're playing on top is actually higher on the lower string, which is a bizarre feeling when you're thinking about it, because it's counterintuitive. You're thinking, I need to play the B string first because the note is higher, but it's not. The note on the G string is higher, which is a weird kind of joke almost. It feels like some kind of musical in-joke or some kind of weird Baroque. It's like something some composer would do as sort of like, I don't know, he said he was trying to write songs like Nirvana and I got back on Weezer and I lost my viewers. See what happened when I started talking about Weezer again? God damn it. I got to get away from Weezer. I can't be in a Weezer cover band. I can't move to Ohio and be a Weezer cover band. I can't move to Ohio. I need to make it in New York. So I don't know. I don't want to make enemies of everybody, but I have narcissistic personality disorder like my grandma. And let me just give you a view of the street real fast in context here. See, here's Palazzo Ciuppi. Can we see it from here? That's Palazzo Ciuppi right there. Behold Palazzo Ciuppi. Rivers. I don't wanna be a runner anymore. Maybe I'll put. Can I stick it here? Will it stay? Let me see real fast. Got. Okay. So fuck. I don't know if it's gonna work. God damn it. We'll try this for a second. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to make enemies of people. I don't know what the fuck my goal is here. I mean, I guess, I expect to be some kind of cultural... I shouldn't say this on the internet, but, this is how everybody feels. I expect to become a cultural sensation. The New York Times, I keep sending articles about this How To John Wilson guy. Or Kavi Zahedi tripping with Maddie Healy. Come on, Kavi Zahedi. Trip with Matt Proctor. KGB open mic host. Maybe, I don't know. Am I just going to be a game show host at best? Am I Mr. Enthusiasm? I'm Johnny Energy. Okay, so I'll talk about New York Poetry Festival. That was a lovely day. We just had so many events stacked this week. Not that I didn't enjoy them, but putting them on was kind of my priority. I'm the caretaker of these events. I'm kind of the superintendent of the vibe and the technical aspects. I'm running the sound on most of it. And so, there's a lot of things that I have responsibility for. It's not, and then I have to perform. So it's not always easy for me to socialize with people A lot of times if I get in a conversation with somebody, I'll miss something that needs to be going on stage, you know? And so I kind of need to watch the show. And so, you know, we had, whatever, 6 shows in 9 days or whatever it was. And so, and it covered a lot of ground. It was the summer concert series, which is ongoing. And we've presented a very interesting array of artists with barely any repeats at a lot of different venues. It's been a pretty amazing series recently. I appreciate that the venues allow us to do this. We are bringing culture, you know, that's what we're doing. That's what's so frustrating about these venues, like attacking us and shit, or like being inhospitable or banning us. You know, Freddie's banned System Lord. We can't even play there. I'm not even allowed to do anything at Freddie's. We were going to do Easy Paradise at Freddie's, and they banned us permanently because I broke a mic stand. And that's Freddie. Freddie is nice. Freddie's like the nicest guy. Freddie banned System Lord. That's how badass fucking System Lord is. Put that in the New York Times. Put that in the fucking... We're hardcore, man. New York is not hardcore, but we are hardcore. And I'm banned from Pete's Candy Store, technically. Don't tell anybody that, but I got banned Valentine's Day 2021 for breaking the bass drum with my hot beat. And I probably shouldn't have said that on the internet, but whatever. So anyway, you know, it's getting harder and harder to book stuff because we're getting banned, you know, and I do my best to, I have been trying to, but with this venue, I thought they were cool with us being extreme. So now I'll dial it down. I will dial it down. I can dial it down. I understand. I'm moving in a new direction. I'm mellowing out in my old age. You know, I'm getting middle-aged. I don't have to be a maniac. Nobody wants to see a grown man running around screaming and brushing his teeth. That was my gimmick on Thursday. I mean, I had nothing. Well, the thing about Thursday was it was such an amazing show, and everybody before me had done everything that I could do. You know, Chava was absolutely radiant. Chava blew my mind. That was an amazing, amazing, amazing performance. And Signa, of course, as well. Signa with the projections was completely amazing. It was all amazing. The poetry readings, Transporter Room was amazing. Transporter Room was doing a lot of sound collage stuff that I was just like, well, I can't do that now. He was doing drops. They were doing drops, you know, which, like, that's basically what I'm trying to do. It's just I'm lazy about it. And so, you know, by the time System Lord got up there, I just felt like, what can I do? I have to brush my teeth. That's what I learned from these clown shows. It's just like, if you do something unusual in that context, a lot of times that can be the most interesting thing. You know, I could have just gotten up there and tried to like freestyle, but it was like Chava was already so funny and so natural and such a charismatic cabaret performer. Chava really held the audience. It was a master. It was like seeing this amazing cabaret performance. The clothes, everything, the tablecloth, the projections, the fail videos, and then the live fail. It was amazing. The live fail videos. It was just like there's no way we could have topped that, you know. And so I had to gimmick. I had to do a gimmick. I brushed my teeth. But also my tooth was cracked. And so I wanted to brush my teeth. So I just thought, okay, this will be my dada. This is my dada. So it was kind of a cop-out, but it was the Weezer cruise. You know, if I had a guitar that night, I would have played a bunch of Weezer songs during the System Lord set. That would have been my gimmick. But there was, believe it or not, on the whole show, there was no one with a guitar. There was no one in the entire bar with a guitar. So even though that would have been a perfect place to play Weezer songs, there was no Weezer, just toothbrushing. So that show was amazing. It was really cool doing it at Autos. It was a cool crowd, cool venue, and an amazing, just transformed it into like this kind of cool art space for a little while with the projections and just the amazing sound paintings. Here's something I want to get on the record. I was watching an Eno video, Eno on Instagram. Instagram is popping up some interesting, I've got kind of a backlit that's nice. this Eno video, he's talking about he went to art school to study painting, right? And he's like, but he found that the most interesting painting was being done in music and in sound. And that's why he started playing music and went that way with his life, because that was the most interesting painting. And that's how I would describe a lot of the musicians that I have been playing with. System Lord, Wavetable, Chava, Senya, a lot of the electronic artists. It's more like sound painting. And, that's the space I wanted to be in. It's harder to do that with the guitar. Weezer does that. Weezer definitely pays a lot of attention to their textures and I don't know if I'd say colors per se, because they're still focused on chord sequences and songs and kind of getting effect that way. Even though their textures of everything, their solos, the voices of the guitar, they always throw in kind of bells and whistles and kind of cool, slightly cute sounds. That's how my dad described it. As a musician, it's your job to play it and make it slightly cute. That's how he described it. And I think there's truth to that, definitely. Like Weezer, a lot of the guitar sounds they have and stuff, like on Pork and Beans, whatever the fuck that sound. It's like slightly cute. It's like a bells and whistles thing. There's a gimmick, or there's like a novelty to it to some degree, but it also just sounds cool. How'd you make that sound? It's pleasing to the ear, right? To hear these. That's your job as a musician, really, is just to make something that's pleasing to the ear. Me, I'm more rhythmically focused, and that can overpower and kind of drive people crazy. That's like Sister Ray, right? We're playing Sister Ray. But we could tone it down, maybe. I don't know. We could tone it down and make it Sunday morning or whatever. Maybe that should be the next. I don't know. I mean, the world has just been in such a panic the last few years. But now things are kind of, I don't even know, man. Chill wave, Weezer summer. It's Weezer summer here. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm being attacked by these venues, but I'm just trying, August, these are the dog days of summer. It's harder to get people into shows. It's harder to get people want to do shit outdoors, or they're on vacation. Everybody's out of town. And so I'm happy with what we've been able to do. I think we've had really cool gatherings, and we put on really amazing stuff. I mean, my videos have not been super great across the board. My videos are kind of all over the fucking place as far as quality goes. I always end up setting the camera up in haste, and my tripod is literally like 8 inches tall, so it's not like I have a lot of range with what I can do. So a lot of my videos are, but the sound, it's more about getting the sound and just getting it. It's an immediate lo-fi pirate broadcast, right? Here is fucking the latest bootleg. It's the latest System Lord bootleg. It's got the news, here's the news of me freestyling, live streaming with sound painting, sound collage, CNN headline news. Everything's the news. That's what Kerrigan said. Everything's the news now. I mean, maybe we should have voiced the news. I don't know. It's something to talk about, but people want to live in a chill space. They want tranquility. They want a space away. But I don't know. You can't look away, You don't want to be apathetic. You don't want to be oblivious or in a bubble. But I don't know. Maybe that's human nature. The New York Poetry Festival was super cool. We had it was a beautiful day. So I was on the stage. I was trying to round up. I hosted this stage, Beckett stage, which was like the poetry brothel stage, is what it typically is. So that makes sense. I'm like, it's the poetry brothel and me. I'm like the compere. I'm the fucking, the MC of the poetry brothel. The perfect place for me. But it was kind of cut off, and it was this beautiful kind of brick, kind of proscenium thing with like, a nice kind of bench backdrop. I don't know what you call it, diorama thing. But it was cut off from the main kind of green where all of the readings and all of the booths were, and there wasn't really anywhere to sit. There was a lot of cross traffic, so it was like the whole thing was brick. No one was really going to sit there for a long time. People would kind of shuffle in for their reading and then leave. But also, it was kind of over. It was cool. It was great. I had a lot of fun. It was amazing. It was amazing. And mostly I was just trying to stay the fuck out of the way and be brief. I think we started 5 minutes late, so we were kind of behind. And so with my reading, I read super fast because I was worried about going over. But, I did the best I could to, I picked my spots to sort of insert poems to read throughout the day, hosting the stage, right? And so I read, I think, probably 4 or 5 or 6 pieces throughout the day at different intervals, at the beginning, the end, before the break. And then one thing that was crazy that happened, from doing this open mic, it's just like the people come to the open mic and then they spread out into the world in the most beautiful way. And I run into people everywhere. I just ran into X. I run into him constantly. We ran into him the other night. I run into him all the time. He's an amazing guy. I love X. We're playing a gig at the venue, August 24th. Be there. X, System Lord, Sing Ya, and more. August 24th. He was telling me about this guy covering himself in petroleum jelly and eating petroleum jelly. So I run into people from the open mic everywhere. And I got on the train at fucking 1:30 on Saturday, I think. Late Saturday night. I was with somebody. Who was I with? Oh, I think I was with Luke Hall. We were talking about, we were coming home. What the fuck were we coming home from? Oh, we may have been coming home from, was it the autos thing? Or I think it was the autos thing. It was Thursday, maybe. Was it Thursday? I guess it was Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday because I was talking to Luke Hall, and then Luke Hall got off the train, and then I ran into Hyacinth, the amazing Hyacinth, one of the most amazing, artists we've ever had on the open mic, who lives in San Francisco or Oakland now, and they're starting an open mic in Oakland, which is amazing. So the open mic's revolution continues. The open mic explosion taking this country by storm. People are taking their art into their own hands, They're living their own lives. They're living their own creative lives, and they're bringing it to the people. They're bringing the word to the people in San Francisco. So now I got to go to San Francisco and go to Hyacinth's open mic. So we were talking, and it was amazing running into them on the Q train late at night, the magic of the subway. And that, we were both going way out deep into Brooklyn, way out by, Brighton Beach almost. And so I told them about New York Poetry Festival, And so they came out. And so they were able to get up and read a little bit, which I think is super cool, It's lucky for New York to have Hyacinth at New York Poetry Festival to give their 2 cents, because it's definitely fucking amazing, necessary, need to know stuff. And so I don't know. I definitely get joy out of putting as many people on stage and helping people and just getting people's voices out, Definitely. I don't even know what the fucking goal is anymore, though, because if the venues are going to be hostile or something, I love doing live shows. It's the point. It's everything to me. I was reading this thing about Live from Daryl's house, which was a live stream that Daryl Hall did from his house in upstate New York, who actually this guy I lived with worked on this show. He was one of the PAs or something. But, he would have musicians over to his house and they just live stream. This was way before. This was in the mid-2000s and shit. And he's like, I just wanted the world to come to me for a change. And so I'm like, God damn it. Maybe should I focus on that for a second? Rather than, I don't know. It's just like live performance and, particularly with the open mic, it's like you're making yourself vulnerable to people where people are constantly coming after you to find out when they're going up. They might be mad, they're, and it's like you're open to that because you are the point of contact. And so it's like you're kind of, now it's just like I'm beholden socially to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, which is great. I love that. I love meeting people, and I love, but also, like, I'm a catty person. I'm an Aquarius. I'm distant. I live on Pluto, and I have narcissistic personality disorder. And so, I'm as sensitive as anybody, and probably more so. And, like, I don't get the validation that a lot of people do. I don't get included in a lot of stuff. And I get why. It's the same reason why this venue doesn't want us here. It's because we're loud and experimental. And I might read something about "come on my face, daddy," or "come on my tits, daddy," or something that's going to really be provocative and offend everybody. And, I don't mean to be that way. I really don't. I really don't want to be that way. I don't know why it comes out that way. I don't know why it comes out that way. I'm conditioned to this really crass, fratty, maybe, I don't know, a horror of horrors. I did go to a Big Ten school. Like I said, I was the foam party DJ at the Ugly Tuna Saloon, okay? Bow, 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 bow. Okay, so, it was a different time. I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to be relevant and nice to everybody, but it's like, especially, I don't get paid, especially recently. This summer, it's like less people are going out and doing this kind of thing. And so I don't get paid. I haven't been paid recently to do this. And so it's like I'm giving my time to put a bunch of people on stage. Not that I need to get anything out of it, but it's like I do it because I want to do a big show, and I love doing a big show. But it's just weird to me that people wouldn't reciprocate. I just don't understand that. People maybe don't want to have me on their show because I'm loud and experimental. But here's my honest opinion. It's a lot of the stuff they're booking. And no offense to anybody, because I do have opinions about the quality of acts I see. I support everything, and I'm positive about everything, because that's yes-anding, and that's just life. Everything exists. Everything has a right to exist. Everything has a right to fully realize its potential and chase its own directives and whatnot. But at the same time, like, I definitely have opinions about what's good. And to be honest, there's not a lot of poetry that I really am a huge fan of. And it's gotten me into a lot of trouble because nobody likes my fucking poetry either. So, I basically alienated myself from most of the poetry establishment of New York City. And I'm like this pipsqueak nobody who's like just got this fucking technique that's like kind of offensive and sophomoric and just kind of like shitty. And so, I use this open mic as this sort of fake validation exchange. No, I'm just kidding. This is what I've wanted to do for a while. I just want to have this like real talk nervous breakdown on stage and just get real and just tell it like it is. And so, but I don't, like, I've spent the last 15 years of my life completely immersed in poetry, thinking seriously about it, reading a lot of it, writing a lot of it. Granted, I haven't been to an MFA program. I've been in a few workshops here and there to varying degrees of success. I've read at a lot of open mics. I've been doing the goddamn New York Poetry Festival for 10 years. That's one thing that, like, I love doing it. It's great, but it's like, it's kind of frustrating to still be a nobody, and not that I feel like a nobody, but like, I think what I'm doing is pretty goddamn interesting. And that's the truth, to be honest. Like, the truth is, I do think what I'm doing is pretty fucking interesting. And I think people should book me, I think it would just make their show better. It's that simple. There's a reason why my open mic is and this is not my opinion, a lot of people have told me this, is the best, it's like, it's because I make the fucking choices, and the acts are great, don't get me wrong. It is that. it is the fucking axe, 100%. You know, like, because of where it is, it's Manhattan, New York City. It's the center of the fucking United States cultural world universe. So it's like you get really, really talented people. But also, I don't know, like, there are definitely really, really, really fucking good writers that come in a lot. Okay? Uh, I don't know. I don't mean to be a dick. I don't mean to be a dickhead. But this is how I get alienated from shit. I don't know. The open mic is like, that is the way that it should be. It should just be fair, and everybody should get equal time, and everybody should get a say. That's how it should be, you know? But also, we're in a curated, obsessed, everybody's obsessed with curation. And people take that seriously, and they don't want to curate my ass. They don't want to condone come on my face daddy. And to be honest, my last book, I don't know. If I was a regular person that picked it up, I probably would be like really, like, who does this guy think he is? This is like gross and just gross. This guy probably listens to Weezer. He's probably an incel who listens to Weezer. He probably has a live stream where he talks about Rivers Cuomo for an hour. So anyway, I don't know. I'm just trying to grow as an artist and connect and get out there and learn. And I want to do cool shows. And I'm going to get banned from New York City venues because I'm too fucking controversial. And they're going to take away my cabaret license. I'm going to have a heart attack on stage like Dick Shawn. That was my gag at Auto Shrunken Head. I'm going to die on stage. I'm going to have a heart attack on stage like Dick Shawn. I don't think that's a bad way to go. I mean, as an entertainer, I think it'd be a fucking hilarious way to go. I'm just kidding. It's just part of my fictional autobiography that I'm positing, okay? It's not serious. But, you know, some of the all-time greats died on stage, okay? It's, you know, this is the life. We are committed to the life, okay? We are show people. That's what this is really about, okay? We are fucking show people. We're like Long Day's Journey into Night. We're like that family. We're like the Tyrone family. We're a dynasty of just like completely toxic, opioid-addicted actors. We're completely narcissistic. We're totally bitchy and catty, and we all hate each other. And we love each other. See, if I see people in public, I'm totally civil and nice. I don't have anything against anybody. I'm just a sensitive person. And I take it very personally when Instagram puts this shit in my face about how I'm, you know, a loser, basically. And how nobody respects what I do, essentially. They want to use me for stage time. Because, am I getting liver spot? I'm just kidding, okay? I'm in stand-up comedy world where it's all just brutal meanness for some reason. I mean, my open mic has been invaded by stand-up comedians, but it's summertime, so no one else is like, I don't know if other people aren't showing up because the stand-up comedian scared them away, or if it's just summertime, so everybody's kind of taking a break. There's still a good turnout, don't get me wrong. Like, it's still a good turnout. It's just I'm not making money. I shouldn't probably talk about this on the internet. It's very unprofessional. But, I mean, it's still a blast. I still love doing it. I'm still committed to doing it. As long as they'll have us, we absolutely are committed to doing it every single Monday. It's not about the money. But there have been a lot more stand-up comedians, and I'm like, one of the writers last night made a remark about how they were not a stand-up comedian. They made sort of a disclaimer at about the beginning. They were not a stand-up comedian. I felt, oh man, I felt bad because I'm like, we fucked up. We fucked up by inviting, by being too friendly to these completely toxic points of view. Just kidding. Just roasting you guys. And we've scared away all the writers, the serious writers. Or a lot of serious writers might come once and then never come back. But, it's also like, it's summertime, so a lot of people are coming into the city to visit. So we have people in from out of town. I need to tap into that audience more. And I just need to get people to come in. So, if 20 stand-up comedians are going to come in and that's going to be the majority of the business, why not? Why the hell not? You know what I mean? Like, there are interesting things happening, I'd like to get a little bit back into poetry world a little bit more, but, I'm loud and experimental, so... I do feel maybe more accepted at poetry open mics or something. I don't know. The comedy thing, maybe I should take a step back from. I'm not sure. It's just, I don't know. It's fun to go do. It costs money though. But, I'm just trying to tap into different stuff. Now I'm discovering that I can just book shows. Maybe I overbooked stuff and now I'm getting kind of like the blowback from that, and that's what this like email's about. But like, what I'm realizing now is like, why not just like, if I could do the open mic, have one show that's booked, and like maybe get booked on one show a week. That's a pretty good schedule, right? And so like recently, it's like rather than go out and do open mics where I like have to wait around forever or pay money or whatever, it's just like, well, why not just book something? It's then we have a whole evening, and it's kind of more like an artwork. It's more like this big artwork, just like the open mic is every Monday. I do look at it as like one big piece, right? It's a total work with music and poetry and comedy and sound and vision and life and weird, heckling and drama and interpersonal hookups and relationships and all this, and running storylines and friendships and a scene and, and a movement, an artistic community and family and a third place. But it's like these shows can be kind of the same thing. They can be kind of satellite break-offs in showcases where it's like have a couple comedians, have a couple bands, have a couple poets, maybe have some visuals, maybe, and they're like little exhibitions throughout the city. I think that's important too. It's important to go to open mics everywhere, but like being able to do. Should I start walking? Maybe. I mean, I'm basically done. I don't know how much longer I'm going to go. Maybe I'll go to I have 20% of my battery left. Maybe I'll sit for another second. And so, when you present things together, having Bruyere, Dos Cowboys, JP, Ben Callahan, that was a pretty cool total work, or the one previous, Jason T. Cocker and Free Paintings and Joseph Severe Dudes and System Lord, those are pretty cool, curated, pieces around the city. Not that a lot of people came out. One reason to do the open mic is you get a lot of people signed up. You have a big crowd automatically, because you have 40 people waiting up to go or whatever. So, I don't know. Not that I should admit that, but it's sort of like holding the audience hostage in a way. I don't want to do that. That's not the point. But everybody wants to be in front of a lot of people. So you can't really complain about it. Because, that's how we get a bunch of people. These satellite events have had good turnouts, 20, 30. The Autos event probably had 30 or 40 people. And a lot of people rolled through, It was a great evening of art, I felt like. It was great to get that congregation. And, there are resonances when you have people perform together, when you have people read together, and the Weezer cruise contextualizes it all. And Signa, Chava, System Lord makes sense. But then you have System Lord with Joseph and the Severe Dudes, and so it's cool, We can play all over town, and I thought we were going to be able to set up a relationship with the bar in Park Slope. I thought this was going to be our, residence. We play there once a month or something. But if they're upset about what we're doing, I didn't think it was that kind of place. I thought they just wanted to support the culture. That's really what we're trying to breed, right? The open mic, the idea is to just get as many, to just get as much procreative, artistic kind of transaction and germination happening, where it's like, this is the 11th Street Bench show. I'm on a bench on 11th Street Cafe. Yeah, and so just germinating, cross-pollinating, getting things moving, getting protons firing, getting enzymes, exploding, like, and 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 shooting all around, ricocheting all over town. That's really the goal. And so just by getting all that energy in that room once a week and all this huge family of artists and just keep churning that out, more and more people and more energy, comedians, musicians, all of it, all of it, all of it. And then, it would be nice if the thing about when I book events is I'm very hasty about it. It's like I do everything at the last minute, like the flyers for the last events. It's like basically I made it the day before and posted it the day before. And so it's like people had very short notice, the venues included. And that's just the way I work. That's one of the reasons why an open mic is one of the few things I can sustain. It's because people message me. It's hard for me to, because I'm constantly going over in my head about who do I want, who am I going to ask, what's this show going to be? There is like a vision behind it. Each show is its own kind of digest or like piece. All the things are resonating and kind of pinging off of each other, and so it does take time. And also, there's an element of serendipity. Like I ran into X on the street a couple times, so I thought he'd be perfect to play a show with. Because another thing is like, I want to show people that like I appreciate them as artists if they feel, neglected at the open mic, or like, if they feel like they get a shitty time slot or they've been fucked over or they waited around. I want to pay people back a little bit by giving them more time. It's like, not that there's going to be a huge audience like at the open mic, but it's like you can come out and do one of these shows, you get 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If you're a comedian, you might get 10 minutes or something. So it's like, it's a way of, just kind of getting to know the artists a little more and like giving them, apologizing, for, and they're returning customers. That's the ultimate thing with the open mic is like I'm more or less a bartender. I function like a bartender where it's like I have to have regulars. That's kind of what the business is built on, so I can't bring these personal things into it. That's what's hard about it for me is like I am a sensitive person and an artist and an egomaniac and a narcissist, and so like I do get offended easily and I lurch out at people, particularly because I'm a drug addict. We are all on drugs. So I get cranky. Look at my eyes, for Christ's sake. I look like, no one will even look in my eyes because I look so zonked out and insane, a lot of the time. That's why I've started wearing these sunglasses from Green Mountain Energy, trying to promote Green Mountain Energy. And also, people don't really realize that you're a drug zombie when you have sunglasses on. They just think you're slay. You're just slay. I hope the audio is working. Really, I turned off the comments, so I have no idea if the audio is even working on this. But so yeah, I don't know. As long as I don't get banned from New York City venues, I'm gonna keep pushing the pedal to the fucking metal. And I don't know. I don't know what else to do. It's a celebration of the dance. Talking to X on the way over, he was telling me about this piano player who's a busker in Washington Square Park who had a job with the New York City Ballet playing piano. And he said he quit because he didn't like playing in enclosures. He didn't like playing in enclosed spaces. I can relate to that in a certain way. I think there's an honor to busking and to playing outside. Venues are great and everything, but like, there's all these business things with rent and money, and you got to sell. And alcohol, I'm all for the 2 drink minimum. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Um, it's Manhattan, and that is star power. But alcohol is also really not good for you, and so I understand people who do not want to drink alcohol. I don't necessarily want to condone that per se. I can't really handle it that much. But that's business, and I don't mind being a shill and moving that stuff, every week. That's part of, my dad he's played in bar bands my whole life, and I find being in a bar band a very honorable, cool thing. It's what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be in a bar band. This is what I figured out. This is our poetry bar band. Easy Paradise is our poetry bar band. And we get to play 6 hours every Monday night. That's pretty fucking dope. That's what I've always wanted, man. It's what I've always wanted. We get to share it. We are all on drugs. We are all the show. We are all Easy Paradise, and we are all part of it. That's everything I want. It's everything I want out of theater and performance philosophy. It totally fulfills my performance philosophy in many, many ways. In one, for one event, for one thing to do. But we are all on drugs. It's like he told me when I was a kid. It's like your job is to sell beer. That's the only reason the band is there. People are, unless you're a ticketed event, which is what most of these New York City venues now, they try to get you to rip your friends off for $10 or $15. Most of the shows I played in New York are like a $10 or $15 cover charge that goes to some goddamn, whatever the fuck it is, some email rip-off thread or something. What is it now? Gig finesse. Gig finesse is the people getting you to rip your friends off for $15. Play Bowery Electric, charge your friends $15 a ticket to see you play Bowery Electric. Live your rock and roll dream in Manhattan. It's pay to play, basically. But I wish they'd just make the event free. And like I said, I thought people were buying alcohol. They should just want to promote the culture, man. Just it's going to be good for your venue in the long run to have legendary events such as these. They'll have a plaque there. I don't know. I mean, we're trying, they're putting profits before, life and essence. They're putting, it's like, it's about the culture. It should be. It should be about the music and the sharing, the community. People all come to the bar to be with each other, to meet each other, to make friends, to see what's going on. And the open mic is a great place to just see what's going on, IRL, to see. And I like local. It's all about local, man. It's not about famous people. It's about people in the neighborhood, people riding the train to the gig, people carrying their guitar in the fucking train, people walking with the gig bag, people carrying their amp to the fucking open mic, people with their binders, people with their, reading off their phones, people flying in, following you on Instagram, flying in from some place in Texas, signing up a week in advance or weeks in advance to get on in New York City and Manhattan to make their legacy media dreams come true. The dream is dead. I just want to go start a Weezer cover band in Columbus, Ohio in my brother's attic. Let's just, we're just going to live stream. Let the world come to us for a change. I'm sick of fighting these people. I'm sick of fighting the venues and the promoters, and people want to shut System Lord down. It's System Lord, particularly. They hate System Lord. They really hate System Lord. They hate our truth. They do not want our truth in these neocon venues, in the Peter Thiel dark money venues. They do not want System Lord's truth out there. They don't want you brushing your teeth. They want to destroy your teeth with toxic soda pop and sugary beverages and candy and alcohol and Red Bull and meth. They want you to get meth teeth, okay? They don't want you to listen to System Lord and become super gods and enlightened immediately because of our fourth eye power in the sixth dimension. Okay, look at this. I've got 6 eyes, okay? Some people just have 4 eyes. I have 6, okay? That's the System Lord promise to you, okay? This is our grand finale. We're riding up on 2 hours. Thank you for watching, everybody. We're going to do more events. They will never stop System Lord. We will play in the goddamn streets. We will play in the jails. We are noise music. We don't even need instruments. We just run our fucking mouths. All I need is a YouTube. Give me a YouTube, and I will make System Lord. We will make System Lord. All right, so is there anything else I need to talk about? Is there anything else we didn't cover? Watch all the videos. New York City Poetry Festival is awesome. It was our island in the sun in Surf Wax America. The spray was in our hair and our faces. It was beautiful, riding the ferry. We had our downtown New Amsterdam tour in this this fucking financial ripoff of a city, of a country, of a scheme, of a white supremacist corporate merger. And they don't want our truth. They want to shut down Rockwood. But we're going to keep bringing you the news, okay? As long as, even without venues, you know, we'll do it on the streets. We're going to do some outdoor shows. I want to do a show on the Brooklyn Bridge. Look for that coming up soon. Live on the Brooklyn Bridge. And more, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll talk soon. Come out Monday. What the fuck is today? It's Ashley's zine launch on Friday. That's the next thing. That's the next stop on the Weezer cruise. All right. Watch the open mic. Watch all the Weezer songs. Thank you for watching. I'm trying to think of some kind of Weezer thing to sign off with. Oh, God. Okay.